Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. It's Kenneth, and in today's video we're going to be exploring some more of the SAT math and specifically some equations and expressions type problems. So first, this is a question that can be done easily with decimals, but you can also probably do this one pretty easily in your head. So basically it gives us an equation and it's asking us to find the x-coordinate of an x-intercept. Now if we remember, an x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. So in this drawn graph here, it'd be like these 2 points. And the x-coordinate is simply just going to be where it crosses, right? Because there is going to be no y-coordinate, or rather the y-coordinate is going to be 0, since the x-axis is where y equals 0. So if we're trying to find this in our heads, we can set f of x equal to 0. So we can say 0 equals x plus 6 times x minus 4. So in what case will this equal 0? Well, when either this equals 0 or this equals 0, the whole thing will equal 0. And the reason is because if you multiply either of these by 0, the answer will be 0. So if this is 0 and you multiply this by that 0, then you'll get 0. But if this area is 0 and you multiply that times this non-zero value, you'll still get 0. So in that case, when is x plus 6 equal 0? Well, if you subtract 6 from both sides, you just get x equals negative 6. And then when does x minus 4 equal 0? Well, you just have to add 4 to both sides, and you get x equals 4. So those will be the x-coordinates of the both x-intercepts. And you can see that this is how to do it on decimals. You just plug in the equation and it'll literally tell you the point. So it's faster if you want to do it like that, but there's always value in being able to do it by yourself. So the first skill in practice problems are going to be nonlinear equations in one variable and systems of equations in two variables. And first I want to say that this slides template is from Schoolhouse, so you should check out their tutoring resources if you need more help. So first I have a question here. One solution to the equation, so 1x equals whatever to make this true, can be written as 1 plus the square root of k, where k is a constant. What is the value of k? Well, first we need to realize that this is 1 plus the square root of a value, which means that we're probably going to be using the quadratic equation because this is squared. Now, if we remember correctly, the quadratic equation is negative b squared plus or minus the square root of b squared. And then, wait, sorry, okay, this is not squared. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So what is our b, what is our a, and what is our c? Well, if we remember, a is the coefficient of the x squared term, b is the coefficient of the single x term, and c is just the constant here. So for this question, we can say our b equals negative 2, our a equals 1, and our c equals negative 9. So let's just plug in all of these values here. So negative times negative 2 will just be 2. And then you have your plus or minus. So negative 2 squared is just going to be 4, because 2 squared is 4, and you can disregard the negative. Then you're going to minus 4 times 1 times negative 9. So minus negative 36. So when you're subtracting a negative, it becomes positive. So you're going to be adding 36 here. Over 2 times 1, because a is 1. So we get 2. And then in this case, we're only interested in the plus. So let's just ignore the minus here. Plus the square root of 40 over 2. Okay. So how can we simplify this further to get it written like this? Well, we can take this 2 and we can do times the square root, or plus the square root of 4 times 10, because that's just what 40 is. But the square root of 4 is just 2. So we can really write this as 2 plus 2 root 10 over 2. And the reason is because you're kind of doing it like this, right? you're doing the square root of 4 times the square root of 10. And the square root of 4 is just 2. So you just have 2 times the square root of 10. And then you can see that there's a 2 in each of these terms, so it'll cancel out, and you just get 1 plus the square root of 10. So the answer here is going to be 10. Okay, so the next question here is trying to find a value of x. Well, from two y equations. Now, immediately what I'm seeing is that since there's a y here and a y here, we can substitute a variable. So what I'm thinking of doing is setting x plus 1 equal to x squared plus x. And the reason is because x plus 1 is y, and y is equal to x squared plus x. So still should be accurate, right? So now I want to set one of these sides equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract x and subtract 1 from both sides. So we're going to get 0 equals x squared minus 1. So given this, if we remember our a squared minus b squared, we can think that this is just going to be x minus 1 times x plus 1. And the reason is because if you distribute this, you'll see that the x times x will be x squared, but the x times 1 is just going to be plus x. So really what you're getting is x squared plus x, and then you do the x times the negative 1, and so you get minus x, and then the negative 1 times the positive 1, it's just going to be minus 1. And you can see that these terms cancel. So it will really just be x squared minus 1. Okay, so knowing that, we can say that x equals 1 and x equals negative 1 are points, or rather x coordinates, where the two equations will be equal. So let's plug in one of these to find a value of, oh, never mind. It just says to find the value of x. I thought it was asking for the value of y. But since it's just asking for the value of x, we have negative 1 here, matches with answer A. Therefore, that is going to be the correct answer here. Okay. So our second skill is going to be equivalent expressions. And basically what this is setting two expressions equivalently. So here it's asking to find the value of a times b, where we have ax and bx in these two expressions. Now immediately what I'm trying to think of here is that when you multiply this a times b, you will get negative ab x squared when you multiply these expressions. So what I'm thinking is that there's only one x squared term over here. So if we just find all the x squared terms on this side, then we will be able to equal it to negative 9 x squared, and then we can find negative ab or ab from that. So what I'm noticing is that if you multiply 3 on the left side over here by any of these, this will result in an x squared term, but if you multiply 3 by bx or positive 4, it won't. Because if you multiply 3 by negative bx, you'll only get a singular x term. And then if you multiply it by 4, you'll just get a constant, right? So what I'm noticing is that, so let's write our 15x squared here, because 3 times 5x squared is 15x squared. And then what I'm noticing on the left side is that there's no x squared term in this expression. Therefore, the only way to get the x squared term or another x squared term would be to multiply and get this result here. So pretty much these are going to be our only two x squared terms in this equation. So what we can do is we can set 15x squared minus abx squared equals negative 9x squared. Now we can remove the x squared because all the terms have it. So we get 15 minus ab equals negative 9. So what I'm thinking of doing here is adding 9 to both sides. And you'll see why in a second. So doing this, well, 15 plus 9 is 24. So then this results with this. So if you add ab to both sides, you get 24 equals ab. And then that results in answer C. So It's really not that hard. These questions look complex, but they're not that bad when you actually take a minute and think about them. The only issue is time, really, because it is time. But just you shouldn't really stress about time as much as getting something right, unless you only have like a couple minutes left and you see you're like not very far through the section. Um, but anyways, let's go on to the second problem here. So, which expression is equivalent to this above expression? Well, immediately what I'm noticing is that both of these terms in the top have this x minus 7. And then I also notice that 2x minus 14 is just 2 times x minus 7. So what I'm thinking of doing here is taking out the x minus 7 from the top and multiplying it by the 8x minus 3, because those are both being multiplied by x minus 7, so you group them together to multiply them by the x minus 7 as shown here. And then I guess I didn't have to erase that over this here, because as we notice it's just 2 times x minus 7. And then what can you say? Well, you can say that these x minus 7 cancel out. So that results us with x minus 3 over 2. Do we see that as one of our answer choices? Absolutely. That is answer B. So that problem looks difficult. It can look hard because there's just so many numbers and it's a quotient, but really not that bad at all. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.